Good afternoon, everyone. Wanted to get started with our Zoom meeting. We wanted to have this meeting to address our football championships and more specifically the a picture that has surfaced that looks like there is absolutely no social distancing or masking going on at one of the biggest football games that we put on during the season, our 6A1 championship game. And we know how horrible that looks, and it's certainly not anything that we wanted or had planned for. As a matter of fact, lots of planning went into preparing for distancing socially and wearing masks and everything that we can to keep our people safe. We worked diligently with UCO to accomplish that. I will tell you that I know the picture that we saw anyway, the one picture that we saw, probably in all fairness, needs to be explained by the fact that it was a picture taken after the game was over, where one of the students had the trophy and was showing it to the student section. The student section and the parents could not come out on the field, so several congregated. And boy, that made the picture look really bad, and we understand that. But we, again, in all fairness, we don't think that was the way people managed themselves throughout the game. As a matter of fact, just in the times that we got to stop and observe, we thought people complied about as well as they could have. Now, were people wearing masks 100% of the time? No. Were they all 6 foot apart during the course of the contest? We understand that didn't happen, but again, we think that people try to comply as well as they possibly could throughout the course of both of the games that we had there at UCO. So just wanted to say that. But I think you all need to know also from our perspective, from the perspective of UCO, a lot of planning went into having our games in the safest manner possible. And we are really pleased from the OSSAA standpoint, the work that UCO and their staff put in limiting seating and marking seats and making announcements throughout the week. We did the same on our webpage. We put out a spectator guide. UCO put together a very nice spectator guide that addressed some of the safety concerns. So it wasn't taken lightly, some of the things that we tried to do. Now, do we think we need to do some different things? Absolutely. And we are working with UCO right now and developing some things that we can do differently to help make this weekend even better than it was. We don't want such a special time for our students, for our schools, their friends and families. We don't want it to be tainted with COVID-related issues and the fact that we're ignoring the safety concerns that come with playing football games this time of year. We want this to remain that special time. So we're going to do everything that we can. And again, UCO wants that very same thing. So we are going to do some things a little differently, maybe a little more, be a little more intense than they were, so that we can help ensure that people that come to the games are doing so in a safe manner. And with that, I will take some questions and try to answer those in the short amount of time that we have. And And so we'll just go from there and try to answer your questions.
Are we just supposed to jump in? I'm sorry, I didn't get any protocols here.
Yeah, I didn't hear you.
Are we just supposed to jump in? Is that how you want to do questions? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we may as well. Again, we got a limited amount of time, and by the time you type it all in, we may be out of time.
Well, let me a couple things. I saw some video before the kickoff of the 6A1 game, and also a photo of the fan section of Jinx that wasn't students during the game. And in both instances, there were packed stands and little mask wearing. It seems as though that post-game celebration wasn't an outlier. What kind of things can you do to enforce the distancing and the mask wearing this weekend?
Well, I think what we have realized is it is going to take a strong effort from everyone, from the school administrators to our staff, to the staff at UCO, to get more actively involved. You know, what we did was mark seats. UCO did a great job of going through and marking seats in like groups of 4 and then spacing them 6 feet apart. We put together the spectator guide so that people would understand what the expectations were coming in. And then throughout the course of the game, we made several PA announcements. We showed some things on video board, reinforcing the spacing and the wearing of masks, hoping that would be enough. Apparently, that's not enough. So we're going to work with the schools and their administration to get them more actively involved in monitoring those things that we're trying to achieve. UCO security is going to be more active. Our staff is going to be more active in monitoring those things that we're trying to get. The spacing and the wearing of masks. So those are some of the things that we're discussing right now, Jenny, and we're going to work out the details in exactly what that's going to look like. But the overall message is it's going to take all of us, from the school administrators to OSSAA staff and UCO personnel, to accomplish that.
You guys had limited capacity to 6,000. The seating capacity, near as I can tell, is 10,000 at UCO. I'm sure that's fixed seating. So 60% capacity in those seats would be a much higher percentage than we've seen at at pro or college events. I assume that the thought was to use that hill to the east, but from what I saw, that was very empty. I mean, in a lot of ways. Do you have to close off the stands at some point to limit who's in those fixed seats and where people are in the stadium?
Well, we are, number one, I'll address, I don't know when you saw the picture on the hill, but for most of both of those games, Jenny, what we saw, there were several people on the hill. But to your point, yes, we're gonna do some things differently in our ticket sales and directing people. We're going to be more active in directing them to specific areas and closing off some seating to make sure that we can achieve the spacing we're trying to get.
David, during some of the other championships you guys hosted, like the softball championships and volleyball specifically, I remember seeing some photos of obviously your crowded clusters. It's harder at those facilities though, less seating capacity, more fans. Why is this one maybe more alarming to you guys? Is it because of the amount of people more fans that come to the football games? Is that why it's a little bit more alarming that a picture like that comes up instead of
the anticipation, Cameron, of considerably more people gets our attention more with football. We do have, in we've had in our some of our other fall activities. We've had large crowds, but it hasn't been anything similar to, or we don't anticipate the numbers being anything similar to what we would get in football.
Thank you.
About watching and being more vigilant this next weekend, and the fall. I guess we got 2 weekends more to go. Could there be a case where fans are expelled if they won't wear masks or distanced or distant? We've seen at the college level, student sections in mass even have been expelled from games. Is sending fans out an option for you all?
You know, that's the last thing we want to do is have that kind of scenario, Jenni. Because I'm thinking if we have something like that, then our Zoom meeting would be because of that incident. But no, to answer your question, that has to be a part of it. If we take these additional measures and we still have people that do not want to comply, then yes, that has to be an option that we ask you to leave. We'll refund the money, and then we'll ask you not to be there, because we have to take people safety very seriously. And again, we hope that our hope is that in taking these measures, people will understand we don't want to have to escort anyone out. We want you to come there and enjoy great high school football. But if it just comes to that, then yes, we're going to be prepared to do so.
Was there any discussion? I'm sorry. Was there any discussion limiting attendance any further than the 6,000?
You know, here's the thing I'll say about that is we limited those games to 6,000 tickets. We didn't sell 6,000 in either of those games last weekend. We brought in additional bleachers, and of course, again, and we did have people on the hill. We did not have 6,000 tickets sold. I don't know that that's going to be the problem as much as making sure that people go to the areas that are open so that they can space adequately.
Hi, David. This is Barry Mangold with News 9. I just wanted to kind of follow up on that. If do you know how many people attended that Saturday's game, and are you considering lowering the capacity below whatever that was? Because it sounds like 6,000 wasn't a problem, but if 5,000 people attended, are you thinking about lowering it below 5,000, for example?
Don't know that we're going to limit that. Those 2 games this weekend, Barry, were going to be the 2 that we anticipate getting the largest crowds. So I don't know that there is going to be a need for us to limit the ticket sales in the rest of the games that we have. Again, and to answer your question, don't know that count yet, the exact count of the people that we had in attendance. Again, I can just tell you that we didn't sell 6,000 to either game.
Thank you. I guess one other question I have is when you say that you'll have you'll be kind of guiding and kind of having folks kind of having them move to specific areas of the hill or the seating. Will there be assigned seating? Kind of how will that work?
Well, not necessarily assigned seating. What we're looking at, possibly, we're still working with UCO to develop the specific plans, but we sold basically, or tried to sell, about 2,500 tickets to each school online. So you can go buy that number of tickets and come in and sit where you wanted to. Probably not going to sell that many online, and sell more tickets at the site, to where once we sell the limited number of tickets online, if you buy a ticket at the gate, then we're going to direct you based on what the seating is like at the time. We're going to direct you to where you need to go. That may mean that someone from the visitor side may need to sit on the home side where there's more space.
David, it's Jenni Carlson again. Sorry. Hey, have you heard anything from Edmond city officials? They obviously have a mask policy citywide right now. Was there concern at all from city leaders to have had a gathering like this that looked like it was pretty big and without all of the distancing and masking that I know that they've, as a city, wanted?
Haven't heard anything, Jenny, from the Edmond officials. And again, we want that very same thing too. And again, I was at the game. Our staff was at the game, doing a lot of different things, as you might imagine. But the times that I personally made myself stop to observe, I noticed a large number of people, not 100%, but the largest number of people wearing masks. I don't know, maybe I was just looking in the right spot. I don't know, but to answer your questions, we have not heard from Edmond city officials, but again, we're going to address this with the mindset that whatever we lacked in distancing and wearing of masks last week, we're gonna do better at it this week. So if it looked like we had 90% people in masks, we're going to shoot for 100 this week.
Okay, thanks.
David, just to kind of get a little more specific, outside of Edmond city officials, what's the conversation been like with UCO? How did they react to it? What have they kind of asked for, if anything, going forward into this weekend?
What have they asked for from us?
Have they asked for? Have they kind of what's that conversation with the UCO been like?
Well, they don't want, obviously. They don't want to be. They don't want their university put in a position of negative conversations. They want to host those events, and they want to host them in the safest manner. They want to help the high schools have as great experience as they possibly can, and we want to keep people safe, and that's what they want. We're working together, us and UCO, to make sure that if there's anything to be criticized, we want to fix it. But it's not just them. It's not just us. Like I mentioned, we all have to take some ownership into that, from the spectators to the schools, to our staff, and so we're going to work together to make sure that UCO is seen in a good light, that our state championship games are seen as a great event, as they always are, done in as safe a manner as we possibly can conduct them. And we want people coming away not talking about how there wasn't compliance with wearing masks and distancing. We want you talking about the football game and the experience of playing there. And I know that's what UCO wants, and that's why we're working to try to fix anything that appeared to go wrong last week.
David, it's Cameron Jourdan with the Oklahoman again. You mentioned that possibly getting school administrators more involved with this. I was at both games. I know you were as well. I think the biggest issue that I saw from both sides, the conversation that we're about, is with the student sections. How much of that falls on administrators making sure that the students aren't, like, that's where the biggest crowds were on both games Saturday, both sides of the stadium. How much of that falls on school administrators and making sure their students are following protocols, following your guidelines, and how much of that falls on you guys making sure that, one, the administrators are enforcing that, and two, that those students are following the OSSAA and UCO guidelines while at the stadium?
Yeah, Cameron, we all have to own that. Absolutely, we want the administrators involved because they know their people. They know their kids, and those students are going to take instruction from the people they know. Their administrators are a whole lot better than they will OSSAA staff or UCO security. So yes, they play a big part, but we've also got to reinforce what we want from our standpoint, and if the security that's been hired there needs to get involved, then we'll get them involved too. We can't lay this on any one group. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's going to take all of us to make that work. But to your specific question, we got to have the school administrators help us for no other reason than they know their students know them, and interaction is going to happen better with their school administrators than with some people that they don't know. And let me add this too: we're going to have a lot more people helping direct people to their seating, to their initial seating that's been marked. Again, I mentioned UCO had the seating marked and spaced. Last week, we trusted people to come in and sit in those designated areas. We're going to be a little more involved with that this time. We're going to have more people helping direct and making sure that spacing is achieved.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Has there been any guidelines changed to the press box situation?
Haven't changed anything. We probably are going to enforce what we had. We're going to be a little more intentional about enforcing the guidelines that we have put in place for last week. Other questions? Well, listen, we appreciate you all very much I know it was a short notice about having this, but we wanted to address that situation and reinforce that we want to have our activities. We want to have our championships. We didn't know in August that we would be to this point. And so we're happy to have our activities, but we absolutely also know that we've got to do this in the safest manner in which we possibly can. So we're going to do that, and we're going to try to do a whole lot better If there were some things that didn't go off well in that regard, and as far as safety, then we're going to try to shore that up and do better in these next 2 weekends. So if there's no other questions, again, thank you all. And as always, please, if you think of some questions later that you want to get to us, you can call me directly. You work through Van Shea, as most of you do, but let us know what you have, and we'll certainly try to address whatever questions or concerns you have. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thanks, David.
David.